Hey everyone, this is Walter, and I'm back here with more Nice Guys from Reddit. This is part 5 of a series that I started with a Nice Guy story. I'll link to the first one in the description in case you haven't seen the rest. Nice guys are men who call themselves nice while simultaneously not actually being nice. And this guy today might be the most delusional one I've ever seen. Let's see if I can get through this without using the word delusional too much. Anyway, let's begin with Nice Guy stories from Reddit. The summary is this guy was annoying and kept touching the author when she asked and then told him not to. Then she reported him and he threatened the teacher over getting a warning. Anyway, we'll be retreading a lot because he's going to be sending a letter to his entire class today detailing his relationship with the OP. Good God. Let's get reading. 4 years of uni with a nice guy, part 3, Endgame. In celebration of spooky season and my favorite holiday, here is the end of the Kevin saga, the most terrifying, insidious, and vile creature I had the displeasure of ever interacting with. This one will be different than the previous two. Because of the amount of text, I am putting links to the documents in here. And you can add the PDF, which I had to copy into Word, edit the names and locations out of, and also create annotations. Because fuck me, man, he was telling so many lies, and I'm sorry if I wrote too much, but I didn't want to risk people for even a second, thinking this guy was onto something or in the right. I needed to give this context for both you and myself. I am done letting his bullshit stand. You will also notice that I spoke to him in many of these annotations. After all the messages, after all the baiting, I felt like I wanted to respond to all the false and delusional shit he said, but not in the way he wants, nor in a way that he may ever find out, unless he finds this post, in which case I have 2 words for him. Shut up. I first did not want to post this because who the fuck would read this much text? But after I found out that a video was made about my story and people were waiting for a follow-up, I decided it was a matter of obligation now. So I think what we're hearing is that it's because of me that we got another part. Awesome. Oh, but also the commenters. Don't let me take that away from you. But while writing, I realized how therapeutic it was to get to say all this to him, but not really to him. You get me? So this series still fulfills its purpose of being my way of dealing with this. But I did also do this because I know the feeling of reading a Reddit story like this and not getting any updates on it. So without further ado, let's travel back to the year 2022. We had all graduated and our whole class wanted to go to this animation festival called Annecy. It is in France. Thing is, our school took the second years at that time but not us, due to us having our graduation projects to complete. So we decided to just plan a trip ourselves, after graduation, and to save money we wanted to rent an Airbnb as a big group so that we could split the costs. We sent a message in the class chat that people who wanted to come with should DM Cleo. We made a separate chat for the trip. But when we wanted to book our house it was booked, so we booked the second option we had in mind, but it was for more people than we had gathered, meaning we had some beds free to offer to people. So Cleo wrote into the class chat for anyone interested and well, it went a little like this. Happy New Year! Hi, we made a reservation for Annecy. We still have some spots left, so message me if you want to join in. Rather die than spend 1 second with some obsessed psychotic stalker like you, Cleo, around me. You make me sick. What? What the fuck, Kevin? Remember that Kevin only had problems with our friends' group chat, which was like 8 people. This was the class chat. They had no idea what had been going on. This was post-graduation, which took place July 2022. So after some confusion, he was kicked by one of the admins and we went on with our day. People filled the slots for our Annecy house and everyone was looking forward to the trip when this happened. Is there a Kevin support group? Wait, what do you mean? This guy keeps texting me, haha. Oh lord. I'm getting very annoyed. Oh boy. Oh god. You've got to be kidding me. Kevin basically harassed this admin into wanting to be let back into the group. The admin ended up blocking him, although he admitted he felt sad because it sounded like Kevin was just really lonely and needed a friend. But then when his last chance to get back into the class chat was taken from him, Kevin sent a long, and I do mean long message, to everyone individually. Except of course those who used to be friends. To give you the TLDR, he accuses Cleo of having stalked and sexually harassed him and that she was in love with him, which made me physically gag when I read it. He even bemoans that he was too nice when rejecting her and wanted to say friends, aka what happened to me with him. Way to go, buddy, you stole my trauma and made it into your own. Never saw someone coping this hard in my life. Yeah, if I remember right, Cleo was simply the one who didn't tolerate him from the start, so this is all completely out of left field. Reminds me of Adam Sandler and Billy Madison when the girl insults him and he turns around and yells, "No, I will not make out with you." He mentions the death of my best friend in a car accident and how after that, Cleo used my weakened mental state into manipulating me into hating Kevin, and that's why I unfriended him, as he put it. He framed it like Cleo wanted to make me hate him so that she could have him for herself. Let that sink in. Not to mention it contradicts the story he told before in the email to the teacher, where he says Cleo did it because she wanted me, not him. Which is it? Does she want to date me or you, Kevin? Wow, this is really personal laundry to air to the entire class for no reason. This guy is definitely a lol cow in the making, or maybe a horror cow. He has like no filter whatsoever. He criticizes my relationship. Again. This was sent to the whole class. And even reading it, that paragraph was absolutely unnecessary. It had nothing to do with what he was trying to say. He talks about the complaint procedures, but he is a really unreliable narrator. So I am not sure how true it is, considering that in a second long-ass letter he would send to me later, he explains it differently. He lies about a lot of smaller details, like the pictures he drew of me being in a private workroom for him and his group, even though they were posted to the glass wall, facing the outside. He accuses Cleo of being responsible for the suicide of our classmate in first year, despite that classmate having been a really good friend of hers. When I read it the first time back in January, I was shaking with rage and I knew it was bait. I knew it was, and I wasn't going to respond to it. None of us would. But dear Lord, was I close. Alright, as a refresher, let's look at his art for a second here. Obviously, he had a penchant for drawing the OP after she asked him not to. He provides a Google Drive link to show how manipulative Cleo is by showing screenshots of the 2 group chat conversations he believed got him kicked out of the friend group chat. Some of those screenshots are edited. Others are real, but out of context. I will not share those because frankly, I don't see the point. I scrolled up in the original conversations and it was a drag for me to read and I realized they weren't relevant. In the end, it is just an example of how manipulative he is. It's classic examples of him picking and choosing screenshots where people were getting harsh with him. What he doesn't show, which I discovered as I looked up the original conversations, was how he purposefully riled people up. By being condescending, calling them childish, being a real Ben Shapiro about facts don't care about your feelings. The conversations he showed resulted out of 2 years worth of him poking people over and over again, and them having enough and finally blowing up. Like a true narcissist, he only picks those moments out to show everyone how he was demeaned and insulted. Oh, you poor baby. Someone snapped at you on Discord? Let me get the ointment. They were just people reinforcing their boundaries and telling him that if he wants to address something that bothers him, he can do it in a less inflammatory way. Also, calling him out on how he was purposefully inflammatory to piss people off, which of course he vehemently denied, which we all know is bullshit. I wasn't present for all that back then. Frankly, if I had been, I would have never tolerated him as long as I did. I was a lazy shit back then who didn't read the chat back. I should have done that, but hey, my stupid ass learned their lesson. The class thankfully believed none of his bullshit. Most didn't even read the message essay. For some, he even deleted it. He typed this and then sent it to everyone individually because he couldn't get back in the class chat, except he didn't send it to the people of our old friend group. Of course, some other classmates were kind enough to provide me with screenshots, and I first thought I would need to post all of those here, but as luck, or well, if you can call it that, would have it, I wouldn't have to. Because after this blew over, I went to Annecy, months after these happenings. I get another message from Kevin, and says this. Oh god, another final message? Do you think when he types these that he gets a feeling like he's done this before? I can't get over the fact that he sent all of that to a bunch of unrelated classmates who are probably all like, oh my god, who the hell cares? Well, let's read it. Final message number 50 or something. Hi blank, this will be the last time I will write to you. After almost 2 years after our friendship ended, I wanted to say these last things to you as a form of closure. I would have liked to say some of these things in person rather than like this. I took my time writing this on my birthday yesterday because I want to forget about you and put all this behind me. To me, you were my good friend. I trusted you. Why you never gave me the benefit of the doubt or just talked to me, even if it was through WhatsApp, I will never understand. Hope you will change for the better. It is easier to give a link to my drive and let you read my final letter to you this way. Link. Okay, so now we have 2 very long documents here, 9 and 12 pages I believe. So I don't think I'll read the whole thing. I don't think I can read it as is without it being confusing either, so I'm going to read what he wrote mostly, and I'll read the author responses when I feel like I should. We'll start by going over the letter he sent his entire fucking class explaining how he's a cringy sex pest. Final class letter. Hey, you all know me as someone always willing to help other people. In fact, I did so for a bunch of you with 3D, technical stuff, and software or other stuff. I never made a conflict with anyone in the class or started a conflict. I always tried to be reasonable and listen to what people had to say and try to understand their reasoning. If I saw someone lonely or struggling in the class who was looking down, I tried talking with them and trying to give them some advice if I could. I also tried to make conversation with everyone, but honestly, I know I suck at it and probably only made me look weird to some of you. At least that's how I felt, but who cares, it's in the past now. Sorry for all the reading you were going to do, but I cannot explain this topic in any fewer words, and trust me, this is only a summary. Sharing personal stuff isn't what I like doing, especially talking about it, but I decided to share this and have nothing to be ashamed of since I never did anything wrong. It's kind of amazing how he has trouble talking to people face to face, but no problem blasting out embarrassing details about himself all over the internet. It makes no sense to me. I write all this so you all can understand what happened with me during the 4th year, so enjoy the dirty wash that I will hang out now. Why I can't stand Cleo, you ask? No one asked. Well, I have to start at the beginning. In the 1st year, she was always hanging around me constantly. Well, at first I didn't mind it, since I thought we were friends, and as the stupid guy I am, I didn't think too much of it. But Cleo was in love with me and wanted more. She kept hanging around me every day, touching me on my arms, legs, and torso, putting her arms between my arms unwanted. She kept harassing me almost daily, saying how I was her best friend and how she liked me. I tried to keep my distance more and more, but my stupidity was that I was too nice and tried to remain friends with her, since a lot happened in the 1st year, as you all know yourself, so I tried to be nice about it. In the 2nd year, I decided I didn't want to hang out with Cleo anymore, at least a whole lot less. I also thought it would be better if I stayed away for the both of us, in the hope that she would let go of me. I would take a train later to go home, just because I didn't want to travel with Cleo on the train. Oh, don't mind me just sending the class my Me Too story for no reason. This guy's only friend is his cat. How is this even remotely believable that he friend-zoned anyone? The OP responds, I hate how he takes my trauma with him and makes it out to be his trauma with her, which never happened, by the way. I fucking gagged when I read those accusations because he was the one who often stood too close, and whenever Cleo took a step back he got close again, till she told him to knock it off. He also made so many sexual jokes at her. Oh, tentacles, you like those, don't you, Cleo? Up your blank? Do you queef? I bet you're a queefer and you kinda like it. Again, when she would later tell me about those, I gagged physically. He said those exact things? Is this guy even a human? I'm starting to think he's less delusional the more I hear. He did steal her story and apparently also edited pictures of messages, which makes anything he says pretty suspect. I am only sorry that I hadn't spoken to Julia about it in that time, since he was a nice guy, and I also stopped traveling with him as well. I bet Julia was left alone a lot after that, and hardly was ever invited to anything anymore, since Cleo always wanted to leave him behind, because she thought he was too slow and didn't understand complicated stuff. But I don't think it's alright to leave a friend behind, and I didn't want to travel alone on the train with Cleo either. Her behavior towards Julia was one of the things I didn't like about Cleo, and made me want to distance myself from her even more. Since if she treats a friend like Julia that bad, who was always there for her, and whom she had known for such a long time as nothing, then her way of thinking about people is not alright. I did talk to Julia in the 4th year about some of this as well, and Julia was calm about it and told me simply that he already knew it all, and he didn't blame me for traveling alone. Julia was openly trans-femme since year 4, and Kevin wrote this in August, 1 year later, meaning she knows. But Kevin didn't give a shit about that, as you can see, because he met them when they still identified as male. Okay, I think I'm actually going to end this video for today. Let me know what you think about all this, and how much of this I should actually read. It's getting tempting to skip around, and there's way too much of it for me to read the whole thing. But we do have some more art for next time, I think. You might notice my voice sounds like shit right now compared to normal, and I'm hoping I can get it back a little before tomorrow, or whenever I manage to upload again. Anyway, if you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about the story, or about my content in general, make sure you let me hear it in the comments. I'll be there reading them, at least while the video's new. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more content like this and a few other things that I've been working on. And big thanks also to my generous patrons, who help support me more directly over on Patreon. I'll be shouting them out soon here, hopefully when my voice is working. Have a great day, everyone, and try not to force your personal drama on your entire class.